Couldn't erosion now. Erosion now. Baby's got it.
All right. Good morning. Good morning to everybody. Happy Friday to you. It's a little last minute thingamabobby thing about do. And look, it's a what the fuck is that? What's it? Ah, you don't know. No. Oh. I don't know what the fuck that was, but that was for you. It's all for you, Damien. Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. We got Max in the house. Chuck's here. And I'm sure some others will be rolling through. I know Lucy was live a few minutes ago, so hopefully we'll have her on ExtraBulla live pretty soon. She's too good to come on this morning show, so she maybe in the nighttime she'll be able to do that. So had a show last night with Franco. Once we got it going, and he had to switch some internet. He had some internet issues, and I had a internet issue here as well. But we finally got the show on, and once we did, it was great talking to him. It's been a minute since I've got a chance to catch up with him, so good to see him. Of course, he's a friend of the show. He'll be back, and we're working on some things too, kind of keeping it on the low till he's ready to reveal that to the public. So a good time should be had by all. With that, so speaking of good times, not the TV show. Well, actually, this isn't good times. If you're a Canadian rail worker, it's definitely not a good time for you. Canada rail freight traffic comes to a standstill over labor dispute. The standoff could cause economic damage and supply chain problems for businesses and consumers in Canada and the U.S. There we go. You remember the rail strike, the almost rail strike from a couple years ago, where basically the government, our government said, no, you can't strike. And they were like, okay. Union bosses in this country bought and paid for. So Canada's two major freight railroads have completely halted operations due to a contract dispute with their workers in a standoff that could cause considerable economic damage to businesses and consumers in both Canada and the United States. What is railroads? Transportation. I think somebody's been talking about shutting down transportation to get some things done, but I don't know. I don't know who that was. Canadian National and CPKC railroads both locked out their employees after the Thursday deadline passed without new agreements with the Teamsters Canada Rail Conference, which represents some 10,000 engineers, conductors, and dispatchers. This is the first time the country has faced simultaneous work stoppages at the two companies, which in the past have negotiated labor deals in alternate years. All rail traffic in Canada and all shipments crossing the U.S. border have stopped, although CPKC and CN's trains will continue to operate within the United States and Mexico. Labor talks started early this year, but progress has been slow, with both the union and the companies accusing each other of bad faith. Negotiations are stuck on issues related to the way rail workers are scheduled and concerns about rules designed to prevent fatigue and provide adequate rest to train crews. And that's what they were talking about, some of the things with the East Palestine derailment, talking about overworked, stretched thin. Both railroads had proposed shifting away from the existing system, which pays workers based on the miles in a trip, to an hourly system they said would make it easier to provide predictable time off. Business groups had urged the government to intervene, but Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has declined to force both sides into arbitration yet. But he urged them to reach a deal on Wednesday because of the economic damage that would follow a full shutdown. It is in the best interest of both sides to continue doing the hard work at the table, eh? Trudeau told reporters in Gatineau, Quebec. Millions of Canadians, workers, farmers, businesses right across the country are counting on both sides to do the work and go and get to a resolution, eh? Numerous business groups have been urging Trudeau to act. Despite the lockout, the Teamsters remain at the bargaining table with both companies, the union said in a statement. So, yeah. Canada. Sweet Canada. We'll see how that works. I don't know if the Trudeau will actually lock it down, make them... Well, I mean, it's not like it's a strike. They're locked out, which is different, right? This is, but it's still shut down. So 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. We'll keep an eye on that and see what's happening. Meanwhile, we told you on Wednesday, RFK Jr., Israeli sweetheart, was thinking about mulling over joining the Trump campaign. I think he's going to make his announcement today. If you're into that sort of thing, congratulations. I'm sure if that pleases you, you'll get your information this afternoon. Really doesn't matter to me. But this interested me somewhat. So this is from Zero Hedge. A judge rules RFK Jr. can sue the Biden administration over censorship after the Supreme Court rejects challenge from states. A federal judge on Tuesday ruled that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. can continue to pursue his lawsuit against the Biden administration over censorship at the direction of the government. The decision comes after a June ruling by the Supreme Court, which established who can sue the Biden administration for violating their First Amendment rights when government officials pressured social media companies to suppress free speech, did not have standing to sue. According to District Court Judge Terry Doughty, Kennedy meets the standard set by the Supreme Court because there is an ample evidence to show he was censored at the direction of government actors and is at substantial risk that the censorship will continue, the Daily Caller reports. Kennedy was named by one of the disinformation dozen and was specifically targeted by the government over what they alleged was COVID-19 misinformation. Doughty noted in his ruling, adding that there is not much dispute that Kennedy and his organization, Children's Health Defense, were, quote, were specifically targeted by the White House, the Office of Surgeon General, and the Cybersecurity and Infrastructure Security Agency. Desert Mantis, Juicy, Kate, what's up? Good to see y'all. According to New Civil Liberties Alliance Litigation Counsel Yenin Yonis, it is gratifying that Judge Doughty found RFK Jr. and Children's Health Defense have standing, even under the draconian requirements the Supreme Court developed in Murthy. Adding, we are assessing steps for the Murthy plaintiffs in light of Judge Doughty's opinion, which will also assist us in crafting discovery requests to ensure we can demonstrate standing going forward. So like them or hate them, censorship is censorship, and we have to call it out when we can. Here in Chicago, the DNC has wrapped up their convention and their love fest. We're gonna later on in our propaganda watch, we'll have some of the more seedier goodies from the thing. Basically, what happened last night, on the last night of the convention, Kamala Harris officially accepted the nomination. She made some grandiose speech about defending Israel, but at the same time trying to find some sort of ceasefire with Israel, which is all bullshit. That her handlers, her people that control her, are not going to let her do that. And before you say, oh, you misogynist, racist piece of shit, how dare you think? It's like they did that with Biden. They did that with Trump. And if Trump gets in, they'll do it with Trump. None of these people, all these promises you're hearing from these people, they could have been doing right. The Democrats making promises, they could have been doing that shit right now. And they didn't. So what makes you think they're going to do it after they get your vote? Don't be stupid. So yeah, we're gonna have more of the fuckery later, but this some of the highlights. This is from day 3. Um, Tim Walz, the vice presidential nominee for the Democrats, made a speech. It was kind of cringe. There's this big head. Why do these people have these giant head poster things? I've seen these at like basketball games. It's very disturbing. Nobody's head should be that big. Uh, so so he was talking about his kid and how they couldn't shit out a kid for a while and all this stuff, blah blah blah. That's later. So, but the uncommitted delegates, they did a stage sit-in. The uncommitted national movement that was there to pressure the party to do more to push for a ceasefire in Gaza. They staged a sit-in outside the DNC on Wednesday after the movement was told its Palestinian American speaker had been denied permission to speak on the convention's main stage. The sit-in had not been planned, one of the group leaders said. We didn't come here to do a sit-in, we're just sitting here waiting for a call. And of course, they never got the call. And police, of course, cracking heads. You've seen various videos and stuff out there of police cracking down on protesters, journalists too. Wall of dozens of police officers blocked the road leading to the security perimeter around the venue to keep pro-Palestinian protesters at bay on Wednesday and yesterday too. Al Jazeera, that's who's reporting this, witnessed the violent arrest of 2 hijab-wearing women who appeared to be singled out by police before being wrestled to the ground and handcuffed, of course. Despite repeated questions from Al Jazeera about why they were arresting the women, the police at the scene did not respond. Not with words, but with billy clubs. Chicago is home to one of the largest Palestinian communities in the United States. Lizette Garza, a social justice activist who was among the protesters outside the DNC, told Al Jazeera that people of various backgrounds in the city were grieving for the atrocities in Gaza alongside Palestinians. The Muslim Women for Harris Waltz group announced the decision to pull its support for the Democratic ticket after protesters were blocked from marching outside the venue by police. And after the family of an Israeli captive being held in Gaza appeared on the stage at the event, the group said in a statement, the family of the Israeli hostage that was on the stage tonight has shown more empathy towards Palestinian Americans and Palestinians than our candidate or the DNC has. And then there's Brianna Joy Gray talking a little about it. And like I said, the rest we'll talk to you about in our propaganda watch because it's pretty gross. What's up, Willie? Good to see you, my man. Happy Friday to you. By the way, bro, Willie and Jimmy doing a bonus Bragland this evening, 5 p.m. Eastern. Is that right, Willie? Wrapping up the DNC shit. So they'll have more in-depth stuff on that. So if you want to check that out, be sure to catch their show. And catch their show anyway. It's good stuff. It's good to see them back. Guess what, y'all? Gen Z has, can you guess how many fucks they have to give? I'll give you a hint. It ends with and begins with which gives me hope for the future. So this is a report. This is from Al Mayadeen. 51% of Gen Z has very little presidency trust. DNC viewership 22% lower. And that we'll get more into that later, but that DNC, the convention, both those conventions, the Republican one too, was just a couple of clown shows. It's like a circus for cultists. It's like if Scientology had a circus and yeah, so you get the gist. And there's these fuckheads. Over half of Gen Z has very little trust in the presidency, according to a recent Gallup polling data. At the DNC in Chicago, Harris's running mate, Minnesota Governor Tim Walz, said in his speech to the Youth Caucus, "This thing is going to be close, adding it's going to be closer than it should be. It's going to be won in the trenches. It's going to be won by your demographic for the most part if we can turn you out and get you to vote." 51% of those aged 12 to 27 who participated in the survey stated they had very little faith in the presidency, which is an increase of 4% from 2023, while 14% expressed quite a lot or a great deal of faith in the office. Cultists! Excuse me. Little tickle in my throat there. Yeah. Distrust of Congress and the Supreme Court is also high among those surveyed. 53% said they have very little trust in Congress, and 44% said the same of the Supreme Court. This survey was conducted in April and May. Prior to Harris declaring her candidacy at the beginning of her campaign, Harris had a much higher popularity than President Biden among the younger voters in America. Voters of Tomorrow, a Gen Z-led group, conducted a poll on Tuesday that shows Harris leading Trump by 32 points among 18 to 29-year-olds residing in 7 battleground states. So, yeah, they're probably going to vote for her, but they don't trust her for shit. And I don't blame them. More U.S. good news, if you're into that sort of thing. You know, I should probably put this under propaganda watch because the U.S. touts these job growths, right? They say, look at all these jobs are created. But they failed to tell you that most of them are low-wage jobs, and you need like 2 of them to barely not get kicked out of your place. So, this is Press TV. U.S. job growth in year through March was far lower than estimated. There's a handsome gentleman there working on an engine block. Good to see that. U.S. employers added far fewer jobs than originally reported in the year through March, the Labor Department said on Wednesday, underscoring the growing concerns the Federal Reserve has about the health of the labor market as it gears up to start cutting interest rates in September. The department's estimate for total payroll employment for the period from April 2023 to March 2024 was lowered by 818,000. The revision represented a total downward change of about 0.5% and means that monthly job gains during the period averaged roughly 174,000, mostly low-wage jobs, compared to the previously reported figure of 242,000. The sharply lower number is the first of 2 benchmark annual revisions undertaken by the department as it collects more accurate data, only available in the months after it publishes the monthly payrolls report. If the tally holds through the final revision in February, it would be the largest downward revision since the 902,000 reduction to employment in March 2009, which came on the heels of the big crash, market crash in 2008. It also chimes with the view of some economists that data gathering issues mean the strong jobs gains previously reported have been systematically overestimated. Do you think so? Private employment growth was revised down by 819,000 or 0.6% below what had been previously estimated by the department. Government employment was basically unchanged. The professional and business services category saw the biggest reduction of jobs, shedding 358,000 or 1.6% from the prior estimate, followed by leisure and hospitality at 150,000 jobs, down 0.9%. The hard-pressed manufacturing sector also saw a reduction of 115,000 jobs, down 0.9%. So, yes. So when you hear these job reports and they say, oh, there's jobs for everybody, and your friends are like, man, I just read this jobs report and it says all these jobs are available. How come you got no jobs? They ain't paying shit. It's one of these grind out jobs where if you do get in, they'll grind you to a pulp until they can't use you anymore. Then they get rid of you or make you quit, and then they get somebody else in. Wash, rinse, repeat. So, yeah. So be careful when you talk about job numbers. A lot of times they're inflated in the first place, and what numbers are inflated are usually the shit jobs. So, in the business world, a lot of times you have non-compete clauses, right? Like you leave a company and then you can't go to a competitor for like a year or something like that. So much for the free market, right? Well, he says dramatically, Trump-appointed judge strikes down the Federal Trade Commission's ban on non-compete agreements. So 30 million workers who were trapped by these agreements will now stay trapped thanks to this ruling. This is from Ed Carver over there at Common Dreams. U.S. District Court judge in Texas on Tuesday struck down an FTC ban on non-compete agreements that was set to go into effect nationwide next month, drawing condemnation from workers' rights advocates who supported the ban. Judge Ada Brown, who was appointed to the federal bench by then-President Donald Trump in 2019, ruled that the FTC didn't have the authority to issue substantive rules such as the non-compete ban, which was issued following a 3-2 vote of the agency's commissioners in April. Non-competes bar workers from getting jobs with competitors or leaving to start their own company. Commissioners in the majority, including FTC Chair Lena Khan, said the agreements suppress wages, stifle entrepreneurship, and distort labor markets. Advocates have long argued that the agreements are anti-worker. Yeah, and it's anti-free market too. Where the free market people at, right? Competition. Isn't that all part of it? But that's how these corporations and a lot of these big giant businesses, that's how they maintain their monopolies in certain areas. And the FTC has estimated that 30 million U.S. workers are subject to non-compete agreements. Had the rule gone into effect, voiding most existing agreements and prohibiting new ones, workers would have collectively increased their earnings by hundreds of billions of dollars over the next decade, the agency said. We are disappointed by Judge Brown's decision and will keep fighting to stop non-competes that restrict the economic liberty of hardworking Americans, hamper economic growth, limit innovation, and depress wages, Victoria Graham, an FTC spokesman, told the Washington Post. Bharat Ramamurthy, a former deputy director of the National Economic Council, who's now a senior advisor at the American Economic Liberties Project, ELP, an anti-monopoly advocacy group, said on social media that 30 million workers who were trapped will now stay trapped. Yes. Ryan LLC, a tax services firm based in Dallas, sued to block the FTC regulation as soon as it was issued in April. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce and the Business Roundtable later joined the case, the Chamber of Commerce, COC, which is in a jurisdiction friendly to their interest. If the case is appealed, which Graham said the FTC is seriously considering, it would go to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Fifth Circuit, the most right-wing pro-business appeals court in the country. Tuesday's ruling, though momentous, didn't come as a surprise. Judge Brown signaled her intent to side with the plaintiffs last month when she partially blocked the FTC rule and placed a temporary injunction on it. So yeah, non-compete. That's about as American as it gets, right? Meanwhile, in Arkansas, you know, it's probably not a good story if you start off with meanwhile in Arkansas. Our buddy Roger Meadows is big advocate for state ballot initiatives, and I am too. I think if I said it a whole bunch. Like, voting on the national level is just theater, and it's just virtue signaling at this point. The real power is in the states with these state ballot initiatives, and the people upon high know this shit too. So again, going back to Common Dreams, infuriating. Arkansas Supreme Court disqualifies abortion amendment from the ballot. Abortion rights defenders in Arkansas said yesterday it was a dark day after the state Supreme Court ruled a ballot measure that would enshrine stronger reproductive rights protections for people in the state was ineligible for November election ballots. I'll give you three guesses as to why it was ineligible, and the first two don't count. The court ruled 4-3 in favor of arguments presented by the Republican officials, including Secretary of State John Thurston, oh yes, lovey, and Attorney General Tim Griffin, who said organizers with Arkansans for limited government, which submitted more than 101,000 signatures to secure the amendment for the ballot, had failed to correctly submit paperwork verifying that paid canvassers had been properly trained. Loophole. AFLG Strategy Director Rebecca Bobrow expressed agreement with Justice Karen Baker's dissent, which accused Thurston of making up statutory requirements out of whole cloth and of being determined to keep this particular vote from the people at all costs. AFLG proposed an amendment that would have allowed people in Arkansas to obtain abortion care up to 18 weeks after fertilization, with additional exceptions for incest, rape, and fetal anomalies that will make it impossible for a fetus to survive after birth. Arkansas currently has one of the strictest abortion bans in the U.S., with abortion care allowed only in medical emergencies. When Thurston rejected the group's petition last month, saying it had failed to submit an official statement regarding the training of its paid canvassers, the AFLG sued to force the state to count all the signatures, which surpassed the 90,704 that were needed for the ballot initiative to be approved. About 14,000 of the group's signatures were collected by paid canvassers, so the number of signatures gathered by unpaid volunteers, 87,675, fell below the threshold. The Secretary of State's handbook on petitions states that an affidavit certifying that canvassers receive training is a requirement submitting petitions, but the three dissenting justices on Thursday wrote that the actual statutory language appears to show that the paperwork oversight should not be fatal to the group's effort, and the handbook cannot overrule the law. Yeah. So I guess it's not Arkansas, it's Arkansas. Too soon? American Airlines still saying no dice to flying to Israel. If you want to get your genocide tourism on, you're going to have to find another way, apparently. So American Airlines extends suspension of flights from the U.S. to Israel through March of next year. And here's some puzzled people going, how can I get to Israel? Practice, practice, practice. Or in their case, genocide, genocide, genocide. American Airlines is suspending flights to Israel through late March, extending a break in service that started in the early days of the war in Gaza. A spokesperson for the airline said Wednesday that customers with tickets for flights to Tel Aviv can rebook at no extra charge or cancel their trip and get a refund. The airline said flights to Ben Gurion International Airport in Tel Aviv will be suspended through March 29th. The airline updated a travel advisory on its website over the weekend. We will continue to work closely with our partner airlines to assist customers traveling between Israel and European cities with service to the U.S., said the spokesperson. Delta Airlines extended its suspension of flights through September 30th from the previous August 31st. United Airlines has suspended service indefinitely. All three airlines stopped flying to Israel shortly after October 7th. That's after the war started. Many other international airlines did the same, although some later resumed them. Yeah. So there you go. But if you want to fly to Israel nonstop, you better flap your arms real fast. Speaking of Israel, the French, at least one French company is divesting from Israeli banks. So the French insurance giant AXA, let me AXA you a question, divests from Israeli banks. This is from Press TV again. French insurance agent, insurance giant AXA, who has drawn $20 million worth of investments in 3 Israeli banks, which the United Nations is accused of being involved in the construction of illegal settlements and the theft of Palestinian resources, corporate accountability group ECHO says. AXA has made a clear, fast, and intentional divestment from Bank Hapoalim, Bank Leumi, and Israel Discount Bank, selling off 2.5 million shares worth over $20 million between September 30th of 2023 and June 24th of this year, following a sustained campaign by pro-Palestine activists, it added. The report by the group said AXA had also refused to reinvest in the First International Bank of Israel, or Mizrahi Tefahat banks, since at least December 31st, 2022. The two banks were previously targeted by ECHO in a 2019 report on AXA's financial complicity in Israeli war crimes. And we talked about that on Wednesday a lot. The ICJ talking about people supplying fuel and anything that could help in the genocide, they would be held accountable as well. That's a related story. In its report, the global advocacy organization said while AXA still had trace amounts of investments in Bank Leumi, it attributed the residual amount to reporting and internal accounting still to be done and considers this a full divestment. AXA had also fully divested from the Israeli arms company Elbit Systems in 2019. So, and we were talking about this last night, me and Franco. We're talking about like, well, what can we do? What can we do? BDS, right? Boycott, divest, sanction. That's some ways you can make changes, right? I mean, we were talking about how you can see like Starbucks starting to close up shops. McDonald's, their sales have dropped. And it's because of protests. And that has to be just a steady, ongoing thing. One thing that Israel has been constantly doing is trying to sabotage these ceasefire agreements with Hamas. This is from antiwar.com. Dave DeCamp. Man, I am dry as the desert today. Dry as Ben Shapiro's wife. The thing. Hostage talks at impasse because U.S. proposal is too favorable towards Israel. Hostage deal talks between Israel and Hamas are at an impasse because the new U.S. proposal submitted last week goes too far to accommodate Israeli Prime Minister and motherfucking piece of shit Benjamin Netanyahu's demands, the Times of Israel reported on Wednesday. The report cited two Arab officials from a mediating country and one other official involved in the talks. One Arab official said that the talks are at such an impasse that they don't see a point in convening another high-level meeting of negotiators in Cairo this week unless the U.S. actually puts pressure on Netanyahu, yeah, good luck with that, to back down on his demands. The demands of the U.S. proposal looks to accommodate Netanyahu's insistence on Israel's continued control of the Netzarim corridor, a strip of land that separates northern Gaza from the rest of the strip, and the Gaza-Egypt border known as the Philadelphia corridor. According to Hamas, the proposal also doesn't include a permanent ceasefire or full Israeli withdrawal from Gaza. Secretary of State and dead in the eyes, possibly a lizard person, Antony Blinken, was just in Israel and met with Netanyahu. After the meeting, Blinken said that Netanyahu had accepted the U.S. proposal, of course, and that it was now up to Hamas to agree to the deal. The Times reported that the second Arab official expressed his bewilderment at Blinken's repeated public insistence in recent days that Netanyahu backs the U.S. bridging proposal, arguing that this inaccurately frames Hamas as the lone obstructionist party. And that's by design, folks. Israeli media reported Tuesday that members of the Israeli negotiating team believe Netanyahu is trying to sabotage the chances of a deal by sticking to his demands, which is similar to what he did in the previous round of negotiations. And there's also talk I've been seeing that Trump has been talking to Netanyahu to kind of sabotage the deal, because if there's a ceasefire deal or something like that, then it's going to help Harris and all these Zionists, man. It's just nothing but trash, I tells you. and Israel doing some sneaky shit. They say they're trying to get Hamas, but they're really just trying to get the land and what's under the land. There's a lot of oil and gas reserves, and it's a strategic geographic point with the Red Sea. I mean, with the yeah, is it the Red Sea? Whatever it is in the river to the sea part, wherever the sea is. I think it's the Mediterranean. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, it's strategic in that they could build a port there, and so they got somebody got a little sneaky. Found satellite images reveal Israel building new land corridor inside Gaza. The new corridor is located east of Gaza City and serves as further indication of Tel Aviv's plans for a permanent presence in the Strip. And there's these motherfuckers. Satellite imagery analyzed by the Forensic Architecture Research Group reveals the building of a new Israeli army land corridor east of Gaza City in the northern strip since November. Our analysis of satellite imagery from November 2023 through July of last month reveals evidence of a new Israeli military corridor east of Gaza, Forensic Architecture wrote on August 20th in an update to a report from March. This new corridor constitutes the second Israeli-built east-west passage through Gaza after the so-called Netzarim corridor. Together, these corridors are infrastructural indications of an intended permanent Israeli military presence in the northern parts of the occupied Gaza Strip, the research group added. The Netzarim corridor was established by Israeli forces during the early months of the war on Gaza. The corridor, which runs through the former grounds of the old Netzarim settlement, splits the strip in two and prevents the return of displaced Palestinians to northern Gaza. Israeli defense officials who spoke with the Wall Street Journal in February said the corridor is part of Tel Aviv's plans to maintain security control over the enclave for some time. The Netzarim corridor is linked to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's conditions and ceasefire talks that displaced civilians returning to the northern strip must be subjected to a screening and inspection mechanism, aka Netanyahu said on August 20th that Israel refuses any withdrawal from the Netzarim corridor as well as the Philadelphia corridor on the Gaza-Egypt border seized by Israeli troops in May. His comments cast further doubt on the possibility of reaching a ceasefire agreement to end the war, which has devastated the Strip and killed tens of thousands of Palestinians. So shenanigans, right? All about the shenanigans. There was talk there might have been shenanigans in the death of Iran's former president, but there's new information that's come to light here from RT. The cause of Iranian president death revealed. The helicopter crash that killed Iranian President Ibrahim Raisi was caused by bad weather and the aircraft having two more passengers than it should have, the Fars news agency reported, citing security sources. Raisi was returning from a meeting with Azerbaijani President Ilham Aliyev on May 19th when his helicopter crashed in the mountains, killing everyone on board. Rescuers did not reach the crash site until the following day due to inclement weather. Security and intelligence agencies have concluded their investigation into the incident and are certain it was an accident, Fars said on Wednesday, citing a well-informed government source. Raisi's death sparked fears of a regional war as the U.S. worried that Iran would blame Israel. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken made matters worse by saying that Iranians were probably better off without Raisi, even as he sent formal condolences to Tehran. Very Zionist thing to say. So anybody who was wondering about that, their own people said it was weather. It wasn't a shot. They weren't shot down. And if they were shot down, they probably not only let us know it, they probably let us know it by bombing the shit out of Israel. Which I haven't done yet. I've been shooting stuff here and there, but the big stuff, not there yet. Ukraine in a bit of a pickle too now. They're if they're looking for peace, they're probably not going to get it through peace talks. This is from Africa News. Ukraine's incursion into Kursk region ends hopes for peace talks. That's from Russia. Ukraine's attack on Russia's Kursk region has ended any possibility of peace negotiations, said Maria Zakharova, spokeswoman for the Russian Foreign Ministry, during her briefing in Moscow on Wednesday. Who will negotiate with them after this, after the atrocities, the terror that they're committing against peaceful residents, the civilian population, civilian infrastructure, and peaceful facilities? This attempt by the Ukrainian armed forces to invade our territory a priori, I will announce once again what was said by the Russian leadership, a priori, annuls, annuls any possibility of any negotiation with the bandit junta, she said. On August 6, Ukrainian forces made a lightning push into the region, seizing villages, taking hundreds of prisoners, and forcing the evacuation of tens of thousands of civilians. Russia was caught unprepared by the offensive and reportedly is drafting conscripts to repel some of Ukraine's most battle-hardened units. Russian cities have come under drone attacks and shelling from Kiev's forces. Yeah, so some of those, they said Moscow had seen some attacks, but there was no damage or any casualties. And something else I read, that Russian forces, that these conscripts, these kids were not meant to go into battle, right? They were just supposed to be reservists, and now they're starting to get thin on numbers as well. So as far as Russian Ukraine is concerned, I don't have a dog in the hunt. Ukraine is a bunch of Nazis and probably deserve what they get. These people in the Donbass region who are Russian loyalists, if they want to become, it's their land, they want to become part of Russia, let them do it, right? And Russia's no saint either. They've got skeletons in their closet too. So I just say with this war, just keep an open mind, because, probably the Nazis in Ukraine are the ones that deserve to be wiped out. It's, but like I said, just be skeptical. You don't have to be paranoid about it. If you're from Ukraine and you're in Hungary, you might get some food, but you ain't getting a place to stay. EU nation restricts free housing for Ukrainians. Hungary has tightened restrictions for Ukrainian refugees seeking free housing. Those coming from areas of Ukraine the Hungarian government deems unaffected by the conflict are no longer entitled to free accommodation under new rules that took effect on Wednesday. Hungary has offered shelter and government subsidies to Ukrainians who have fled to the West during the conflict with Russia. However, public discontent about refugees perceived as freeloaders who don't actually need support is growing in a number of EU nations where housing is often at crisis levels. The list of Ukrainian regions that the Hungarian government considers directly affected by the conflict will be updated on a monthly basis and currently excludes only regions of Western Ukraine where there's no battles taking place. Starting this week, those arriving from parts of Ukraine seen as unaffected will be offered temporary accommodation paid for by the Budapest government. Exemptions are in place for vulnerable individuals, including pregnant women, minors, and one legal guardian, people with disabilities, and the elderly. The Hungarian Helsinki Committee, a pro-refugee NGO funded amongst others by the George Soros-founded Open Society Foundations, has decried the new rules as draconian. It claims that hundreds of people, including ethnic Hungarians with dual citizenship, may end up in the streets. Ukraine has a sizable Hungarian minority living in the west of the country. Before the conflict, Budapest had accused Kiev of violating the rights of ethnic Hungarians with discriminatory laws that imposed Ukrainian culture by restricting the use of other languages in schools and in the media. Kiev, meanwhile, has complained about what it perceived as creeping encroachment on its sovereignty via Hungarian dual citizenship. So If you're just like leaving Ukraine because you get some free housing over in Hungary, well, you might want to reconsider that plan. Meanwhile, China and the Philippines have been having boat collisions, and that's leading to some nasty business down there. U.S. vows to defend the Philippines in the South China Sea after latest collision. This is from antiwar.com. The U.S. has reaffirmed its pledge that the U.S.-Philippine Mutual Defense Treaty applies to attacks on Philippine vessels in the South China Sea after the Philippine and Chinese Coast Guards collided in the disputed waters. Chinese and Philippine vessels collided on Monday near Sabina Shoal, which is part of the Spratly Island and claimed by China, the Philippines, Vietnam, and Taiwan. Both sides accuse the other of purposely causing the collision. In a phone call with his Philippine counterpart on Tuesday, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan backed Manila's side of the story, of course. Mr. Sullivan also condemned the People's Republic of China's deliberate collision with two Philippine Coast Guard vessels operating lawfully near Sabina Shoal in the Philippines' exclusive economic zone on August 19th, the White House said. In a readout of the call, Mr. Sullivan reiterated the ironclad U.S. commitment to the U.S.-Philippines Mutual Defense Treaty, which extends to armed attacks on Philippine armed forces, public vessels, or aircraft, to include those of its Coast Guard, anywhere in the South China Sea, the readout said. The pledge about the Mutual Defense Treaty means the U.S. is promising Manila that it would intervene to defend the Philippines if its maritime dispute with China turns into a shooting war. China has said that the U.S. is instigating things in the South China Sea by providing such strong support for the Philippines. Yeah, so that's been kind of an ongoing thing there with China and the Philippines. And it's not surprising that the U.S. is stirring the shit on that one. They're just itching for a fight with China. Ugh. And, you know, careful what you wish for. You're probably going to get it. And since China supplies most of the components for American weapons, chances are that's probably not going to be a good time for the United States. Nor is it a good time for Australia, especially if you've seen those spiders down there that are like that big. I'm not talking about the legs. I'm just talking about the body, and then the legs are out there. Jesus Christ. This is from Declassified Australia. Pine Gap readies for U.S. nuclear war. Yay, Christmas! With Australians still adjusting to the new AUKUS military agreement, the United States has been quietly expanding and refocusing its satellite surveillance base at Pine Gap, preparing it to fight a nuclear war against China. We were talking about the what Biden's plans for China, Iran, and Russia. Nuclear-wise, the rapid expansion of the Pine Gap satellite surveillance base near Alice Springs from 35 to 45 satellite dishes is designed to give the U.S. the edge in a potential nuclear war with China. Where Desert Oaks and Spinifex Tufts, that was my nickname in college when I was dandy. Once baked in the central Australian sun, 3 new white domes have mushroomed in a 14-hectare clearing along the western edge of the U.S.'s most important surveillance base in the world. Under huge plastic radomes, the 3 of Pine Gap's 10 new satellite dishes have been built to receive information from a new generation of U.S. spy satellites that bring a heightened level of surveillance of China's nuclear missile launch sites at a time of increasing confrontation between China and the U.S. and its allies. Thermal imaging satellites presently used by the Pine Gap base are able to detect rocket and missile launches in the battlefields of Gaza and Ukraine. And as earlier reported, but the greatest interest of the new satellite dishes at the base are missile launches from China. New generation of eyes in the sky, known as overhead persistent infrared satellites, will soon be launched by the U.S. military to augment the existing satellites of the space-based infrared system. These satellites are designed to detect the thermal signatures of rocket and missile launches using immensely sensitive infrared sensors. I think I have somebody trying to crawl out of my throat. It's like, just get out. Just get out of my throat. Sorry. Meanwhile, in Indonesia, they're trying to fuck around with election laws down there just to do a little, to get a Nepo baby into office. I thought this was interesting. Indonesia scraps plan to change election law after thousands protest. Protesters clashed with police after the outgoing president's allies try to revise election rules, which would have installed a political dynasty. Again with these heads. Why do they have these heads? It's so disturbing. Indonesian legislators have canceled plans to ratify revisions to election laws, the Deputy Speaker of Parliament says after thousands of people protested in front of the Parliament building. Parliament, make my funk the P-funk, was preparing on Thursday to reverse a constitutional court order over candidate age requirements for upcoming regional polls, superseding a ruling that had made President Joko Widodo's youngest son, 29-year-old Kaesang Pangarep, ineligible. If implemented, the changes could have further enhanced the political influence of the outgoing president. Critics said the changes were aimed at installing a political dynasty. But with thousands of protesters clamoring outside Parliament, legislatures said they had delayed an emergency session. Later, the deputy speaker said the proposed changes would be dropped for this election period in an apparent U-turn. It was officially decided that the revision of the regional election law could not proceed. This means that the revision today was canceled. Sufmi Dasko Ahmad, deputy speaker of the House of Representatives, told reporters after the clashes. Yeah, so that's the power of people, y'all. You know, they did this in Bangladesh too. You know, they got out in the streets and flooded the streets, chased their prime minister out of town. You know, don't think that people don't have power. They do. They just have to overcome the bullshit propaganda that they're fed every day. And finally, in our news block, Nicolas Maduro got some good news yesterday from their top court in Venezuela. They confirmed his presidential victory. Venezuelan Supreme Court released yesterday its final ruling on President Nicolas Maduro's disputed appeal involving the presidential elections held on July 28th. After verifying the court's jurisdiction to settle electoral problems, Judge Carlicia Rodriguez certified the results of the election given by Venezuela's National Electoral Council in an unconstrained and unequivocal way. She read the sentence with Justices Fanny Marquez, and Inocencio Figueroa, I cannot talk today, from the Electoral Chamber. Based on the findings of the expert assessment, Rodriguez stated that the CNE results bulletins are compatible with the reports of the election machines. As a result, the Supreme Court confirmed that President Nicolas Maduro was reelected as president of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, and Juan Guaido cried in his sleep at the same time. The judge further emphasized that under the rule of law, the Supreme Court has the ability to analyze election results and decide any issues that may arise. Other worldwide examples of Supreme Court involvement in electoral disputes include the presidential elections in Mexico in 2024 and Brazil in 2023. According to Rodriguez, 33 of the 38 political organizations interested in the elections attended the Electoral Chamber's hearings and presented their electoral paperwork. She also stated that 9 of 10 presidential contenders attended the hearings. Edmundo Gonzalez, the Democratic Unitary Platform's previous candidate, did not attend any hearings and was found in contempt for failing to follow the constitutional order. So the guy who was complaining about the shit was the one who was found in contempt. You'd like to see that everywhere, but unfortunately, it's going to take a while before it hits us here in the United States. You know, you could be all you can be in the Army. But they're going to limit what you have to say because, it's the Army, it's the military. That's what they do best.
The sharing of biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish things they think are true without checking facts first.
Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
So, from the Military Times, Marine sailors to get more training on political do's and don'ts. I said the Army, but I meant the Marines. These guys. Hey, raise your hand if you like bringing democracy to countries, aka stealing the resources. Marine Corps and Navy have ordered all Marine sailors and federal civilian employees to undergo training about off-limits political activities this summer ahead of the presidential election. In an August 12th message, Marine Corps Staff Director Lieutenant General Greg Olson ordered commanders to train units on the do's and don'ts of political involvement by September 15th. Navy Secretary Carlos del Toro set the same deadline in a message issued July 17th. The orders come after the DoD's Office of Inspector General reported in May that the Pentagon had failed to properly train and guide troops about partisan political activities before the 2024 campaign season. The IG recommended that service secretaries and the chief of the National Guard Bureau issue memos to outline what troops can't do during a presidential election. As of Tuesday, the Army and Air Force had resolved that recommendation, meaning they agreed to it but hadn't yet completed it, said Molly Halpern, a spokesperson for the DOP Inspector General's office. The National Guard had sent the memo, and the issue was still unresolved with the Navy. It was uncertain Wednesday whether the Navy's July message to commanders would resolve the recommendations. Let's see. A Pentagon policy adopted in 2008 encouraged service members to vote, serve as election officials, and sign political petitions as private citizens rather than as representatives of the military. Troops should participate in those activities while wearing troops shouldn't participate in those activities while wearing their military uniforms, the rule stipulates. The same policy spells out the list of prohibited activities or must-nots. The list of off-limits actions include fundraising for political candidates, participating in letter-writing campaigns, soliciting votes for a political party or candidate, attending political events as official military representatives, and displaying large political signs, banners, or posters on their private vehicles, among others. The complex policy also says broadly that any activity that can be reasonably viewed as directly or indirectly associating the DoD with partisan political activity should be avoided. In his message, Olson said Marines and sailors should ask legal staff before engaging in political activities they have questions about. Yes. So, don't ask, don't tell, but don't talk about politics either. So, at least not in uniform. Wink, wink, wink. I saw this, I saw this on the tweeters, and I thought, my God, this is so stupid. They're trying to get rid of Social Security, right? They want you to work till you're dead. And who is they? That's the powers that be that make all the fucking money in this country. So CNBC, those cucks to business, of course. Unretirement is becoming a hot new trend in the sizzling U.S. labor market. The level of workers who retired then came back a year later is running around 3.2%, just about where it was before the pandemic. A thriving jobs market in which workers virtually have their pick on where to go. Yeah. Coupled with soaring inflation and the fading of COVID fears are all contributing to the trend. I think the soaring inflation is probably your your clue why people are unretiring. They don't have any pensions or savings because it all got wiped out. The COVID pandemic sent more than 8 million workers to the sidelines at one point, including many folks who decided it was the right time to retire as the workplace as they knew it faded out of sight. But with the thriving jobs market in which workers virtually have their pick on where to go, coupled with soaring inflation and fading COVID fears, some are finding it a good time to rethink their plans and come back to the fold. In fact, the level of workers who retired then came back a year later is running around 3.2%, just about where it was before the pandemic, after dipping to around 2% during COVID's worst days. The unretirement trend is emblematic of what we're seeing in the labor market overall, which is seeing increasing labor force participation for a broad swath of workers, said Nick Bunker, Economic Research Director for North America at Indeed. So yeah, this unretirement is becoming a hot new trend. No, it's unretirement it's not a trend because it's hot. It's a trend because people are doing it out of desperation, right? I'm pretty sure those people want to stay retired. I mean, I could be wrong. I don't want to guess, but I'm pretty sure that's what's going on. And finally, in our prop watch, our buddy Robert Durden had this little gem. We thought this was fun. So from Rolling Stone, man, what happened to Rolling Stone? They just fell in with the rest of them. Why Kamala Harris's new politics of joy is the best way to fight fascism. Hey, look at her. There in front of the flag there in the shits. And Rob says, quintessential shit liberty here. Running for POTUS on the politics of joy when you just okayed $24 billion for genocide 3 days ago, and all in the name of fighting fascism. These people are beyond insufferable. Well, she's got the nomination now, Rob. So that cranked that insufferable up to about 20, way past 11. So, this is the final part of our propaganda watch. I forgot about this. What was going on at the DC convention. So Thursday night they had Tim Walz, the VP, and he was talking about, I couldn't even watch the things. It just looked like it was a timeshare meeting and people were trying to sell you a timeshare there and you couldn't leave. They barred the doors. So he brought some in the crowd to tears when he touched on the struggle with infertility he and his wife faced during his speech. And then his video of his 17-year-old son Gus went viral when he pointed at Waltz and shouted, "That's my dad! That's my dad too! Shut up, bitch! Ain't nobody talking to you." The family was roundly praised for its authenticity on social media. I see a placard marked Coach Waltz waved in a frenzy, and those heads too, as Waltz walked off the stage to his exit song, "Rockin' in the Free World" by Neil Young. Yes, Mr. Anti-ivermectin, Neil Young, who left Spotify, but said, you know what, I like money, and then he came back to Spotify. What a piece of shit. Yeah, so President Trump was sued by Young for using the song without securing permission, of course. Then Bill Clinton, we had Bill Clinton on there. Hey, everybody. Look at him. He's like he said, I once fucked a chick this wide. The bigger, the better. More cushion for the pushing. All right. So he took a swipe at Trump's age. You ain't looking too young and spry yourself there, Billy boy. Clinton took aim at Trump's self-interest, saying, the next time you hear him, don't count the lies, count the eyes. The eyes. I came up with that. He made fun of his age. And then the Oprah showed up with her sign language person there, Glavin. Surprise appearance. So it's pretty much a shit show. They turned it into a Super Bowl halftime show. Is basically what it is. And what's funny is that Oprah Winfrey had at one time wanted to get Donald Trump to run for office. Just like Bill and Hillary did back in 2016. Yeah, go ahead, run for office. I think that's a great idea, Trump. He ain't gonna win. My girl's gonna beat him. And then we all know what happened. She called for tolerance and inclusion, yada, 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 whatever. And then said some bullshit like, when a house is on fire, we don't ask about the homeowner's race or religion. We don't wonder who their partner is or how they voted. No, we just try to do the best we can to save them. Now, you try your best to burn their fucking house down even more. And she took a swipe at J.D. Vance. I mean, you know, and then they had Maren Morris perform. I don't know who that is. Stevie Wonder, too. They got him mixed up in it. Oh, come on, Stevie. You're blind, but you ain't that blind. Come on. And Sheila E. Anyway, and they had no policies, no platform. It was all, you know, Trump bad, January 6th, Trump bad, January 6th, Trump bad, January 6th. Yeah, so that was your propaganda roundup. I hope you enjoyed that thoroughly. Now it's time for some nightmare fuel from, where is this? Is this in Japan? I don't know where this is. So the humanoid robots are coming. There they are. Look at these faces. Look at this. These are your overlords. Oh, this is in Beijing. See it, hip, hop, hippity the hippity, but hip, hip, hoppity, you don't stop rocking. But then you got to cart them off on a thing. There's George Bush painting in his bathroom. This is what's coming, y'all. It's what's coming. What the hell, fembots? What? Now, seriously, if you saw this shit in real life, you would be like, oh, hell no. Right? Like, this guy's saying yes, but these others are saying hell no. Wow. That is creepy. No comment indeed. Family service robots have been enhanced with AI to enable real-time reactions. AstroBot S1 is capable of smooth human-like actions, and it was also featured. Both companies aim to commercialize their robots this year. The robots are expected to transition quickly from lab use to real-life applications within 3 years. 3 years. They're coming. Those robots, you think they're taking your job? They're gonna take your women. They're gonna take your men. They're gonna take everything from you. Finally, today, the Germans have a twisted sense of humor, and I don't know if you know your history or not, but let's just say Germany bombed the fuck out of London in the Blitz back in World War II, about 80 years ago. Keep that in mind, because German warship blasts Darth Vader anthem in heart of London. No deeper message, the Navy says. Germany's Navy said there was no deeper message in the choice to blast the famed Imperial March, Darth Vader's theme song in the Star Wars films, from one of its warships as it cruised down the River Thames through London. Here's a very stretched out picture of the London Bridge. Wait a minute. Is there more? Oop, we went the wrong way. Yeah, they're not even show the ship. What the hell? These guys. Germany's Navy said there was no deeper message in the choice to blast the famed Imperial March from one of its warships. A bystander captured the spectacle Monday on video, which quickly went viral on social media. The song selection made waves across Europe. The warship was in the area for training and dropped anchor in London for a normal supply stop, the German Navy said. The commander can choose the music freely, the Navy said in a statement Thursday. The choice of music has no deeper meaning. 9! Other video recorded the warship, the Braunschweig, played London Calling. Now that's pretty good. Then the 1979 hit from British rock band The Clash. Upon its arrival in London, the song's title is drawn from the BBC World Service station identification in World War II. And its lyrics include the lines, London calling to the zombies of death. Quit holding out and draw another breath. London calling. Do. Except for the one with the yellowy eyes. That's a great time. That's probably my favorite Clash song. The Braunschweig is named for a city in Germany's Lower Saxony, an area far, far away from the United Kingdom and part of the country's newest class of ocean-going corvettes. How do you get a Corvette to float in the water? Usually those cars just sink. For its departure, a tugboat pulled the warship down the river near the Tower Bridge as sailors, without any lightsabers, sadly, stood on the deck. This trip was the Braunschweig second to the British capital, the German embassy in London wrote on Twitter. The warship's commander is a big Star Wars fan and an admirer of the legendary musical scores of John Williams. The embassy said in a statement, he chooses a different Williams tune whenever his ship is visiting a foreign harbor. There's no word whether Anakin Skywalker himself was on board. Oh, they got them jokes over there. They should play Chumbawamba, some tub thumping. I'll get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down. Yeah, I love the Clash too, Willie. I do have a lot of their albums too on my phone, so when I go on my walkabouts, sometimes those will pop into the mix. A lot of reggae influence there with the Clash too. So if you haven't heard the Clash, get some today. Trust me, it's delicious. Well, turns out that's all the shit I got for today. Like we said, Willie and Jimmy will be back with Bragland tonight, 5 p.m. Eastern. Is that right, Willie? And of course, Around the World, Dee and Friends. She'll be on tonight about 9 Eastern on the YouTubers. And check out our pals here. You see where they are, where you can find them. A good time will be had by all. But I don't make any guarantees on that. That's totally up to you. Yeah, so thanks to Franco last night for the great show we had. Like we said, we had the technical boo-boos at the beginning, but once we got those out of the way, everything was good. And now, I'm trying to get Lucy from Blue Moon Red Wine to come on that show, since she can't come on. She has to work in the morning, so she can't do this show at the time we do this show. So we'll get her on ExtraBulla Live. Maybe squeeze an hour out of her if we can do that, and just better and just let her. I should listen to your radio show, Kate. Send me some information on there. We'll put a promo on here for your radio show. Who's Noli? Noli D does that too. Yeah, she does. She's doing a lot of music based stuff too. So yeah, Kate, if you could, I think we're pals on Twitter. If not, just email me at extrabulla@gmail and give me information about your show and where people can find it and that sort of thing, and we'll put it right over here, with all our other friends. Okay. So that's a wrap for the DNC this week. Thank God we have to deal with that shit. We'll have more news on Monday, possible gaming. I know I always threaten it, but it really depends on how I feel a lot of times. And so if we get some gaming on this weekend, it'll be on YouTube and Twitch and Kick. That'll be Twitch and Kick. Sounds like some of the maladies I have. Kate, just check her out on YouTube. Just look for Noli D on there, and she has her channel. She does stuff on Instagram too, I think, and TikTok, but I know mostly from YouTube. So, but anyway, the equipment works. Seemed like all the streams worked today. It was a nice change of pace from last night. So maybe my computer setup doesn't like company. It wants to keep me all to itself. You will have no one but me. No one but me. Googly eyes. Your googly eyes, you crazy motherfucker.
This is City Alpha 5! Damn good song, wasn't it, dog? You like that song? All right.